Hello and welcome to Zerocarbonista Series 6, The Cow in the Room. I'm Ian Collins. This is your number one go-to environment-based podcast. Here's the thing. If it's green, it's in. Isn't that right, Dale Vince?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, yeah, I'm going to say yeah.
If it's
I'm sorry.
blue,
I'm
it might
used to
not
being
be in.
sorry. I've just spent a week being cross-examined and stuff like that, so it made
Well,
me
that's what I was trying
argumentative.
to. I was trying to give you the vibe of the courtroom there,
It worked. It
which is
worked
why
on
I've
me.
got this grey wig on to
No,
kind of
you always have that on. Come on.
just to kind of replicate the ambience. Yeah, I mean, we always talk about your week, and sometimes,
Yeah.
they're good weeks, sometimes they're tricky weeks. I guess, nobody wants to be in a courtroom. What's the deal?
Yeah, it's a kind of week I'm glad is behind me. I've been getting a divorce for a while, but my ex and her lawyers have been determined not to settle, despite my best efforts. They want to drive this to a very high profile end in the High Court, no less, and make a media circus out of it. And all of the things they've been saying have been designed to create lurid headlines. And so we saw some, I think, in the last few days about the fact that I've drunk champagne, driven a petrol car, and was on a private jet flight at least once. It's
See,
had the desired
can I just
effect.
say, I
Hmm.
picked up on that, and I just thought, I mean, this is but it's like saying to somebody who is, I don't know, vegetarian or a vegan, just say,
Hmm.
oh, yeah, you once ate meat.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and now I don't. I
Yeah.
used to do lots of things, and now I
Yes.
don't. Like when I was 4, I went to nursery, and now I don't. I mean, it's a meaningless kind of
Yeah.
comparison. And
It,
what is, I don't know what a court gains out of trying to. I suppose what they're trying to do is create an image of duplicity or something.
well, I think the actually behind it was an attempt to embarrass me, and I've been threatened with this for a couple of months now, leading up to the final hearing, in order to try to encourage me or blackmail me, as my lawyer has it, to settle some really crazily inflated demands. Actually, so it's a kind of it's a really unworthy thing to be doing. These issues that have been dragged up have got nothing to do with the settlement, which is all about just a number. What's a fair number? We lived together for 20 years, and I worked on all of this for 10 years before that. And so there's a fairly obvious way to split it. So it's a horribly down and dirty thing that's been going on. Alongside that, we saw, with no hint of irony from my ex, who accuses me of being happy with conspicuous consumption, with no hint of irony, she said she needs 4 houses, all of them with pools. She needs £20,000 a month for clothes and £30,000 a month for holidays. As my lawyer pointed out, would you have time for holidays if you had 4 homes to visit? I don't know.
Yeah, you can't wear 20,000 quid's worth of clothes.
You can't. Every month, right? Every month. But anyway, there it is. It created some of the headlines they were looking for. As you say, and as again my lawyer pointed out to the court, yeah, I had a petrol car because before, around about, I don't know, 2012, there weren't any viable or actually any
Well,
electric cars on the road.
what were you meant to be driving?
And that's why in 2008, I set out to build the Nemesis. I wanted a greener car. There were no electric cars in the world, not even Tesla. And I started to build the Nemesis, which, in one laughable moment, and there were many, her out-of-touch barrister accused me of having an electric car that cost £750,000 to build. And I'm like, that's not what I'm driving. And then I realized that he was going back 15 years to the Nemesis, and I'm like, blimey, that's in a museum now. And I built that in order to kickstart the electric car revolution. It led me to build the electric highway, which was also to help kickstart the electric car revolution. And all of that is really history. But they're pretty out of touch. All they were after were, as I say, lurid headlines designed for the Daily Mail, who were in attendance and lapping it up.
Yeah, of course they were. I bet they bought a flask and a little picnic table, everything.
It was so cold in there. It was incredible. The
Was
aircon's
it?
Yeah, and here's a really funny story. The aircon's blasting out. Day one, my team speaks to the people that run the room and say, can we turn the aircon down? Because I was getting a frozen face. We were all kind of wearing all our outdoor clothes and stuff. And they say, oh, we'll have to send an email to an external body and
Really?
they'll change the controls from somewhere else, and it takes 2 days to have effect.
Get out of here.
The ambient temperature will have changed in 2 days, but as it turned out, nothing changed, and we were like in a blast freezer for a week. It was hideous.
Yeah.
A four-story building, right, in a blast freezer condition, and one male toilet in the whole building. I mean, it was like some kind of endurance test being in that court. Apart from all the bullshit that was thrown at me, it was physically immensely challenging.
Maybe
Seriously.
There's a whole Netflix show in this. I'm sure. Who's going to play Dale Vince? There is the question.
Yeah, it's always the question.
You've been doing others. You've been on a picket line this week as well, Dale.
Oh, that was nice. Yeah, that was last Friday. After all the court shenanigans, I think Friday was a day off, mercifully. And I popped along to the Guardian office to join the picket line of the Guardian and Observer staff. And it was really lovely. You know, it was kind of like, well, it was nice to be there. I'd never been on a picket line before. And of course, what they're striking over is the very future of the Observer. And I was happy to go there and lend my support. I have spoken up and said I was interested, could offer an alternative to tortoise. Currently, that's being, let's say, shut out by management. And tomorrow we're going to go a step further and publish basically an open offer to the Scott Trust, the owner of the Observer, which we think on four big fronts is a lot better than what they're currently looking at, what they're locked into with Tortoise Media, in an attempt to try and shift them, to get them to open things up. There's never been a proper process here in terms of looking for a new owner for the Observer. And that's one of the big gripes of the staff. And I understand that. And we're saying, look, there are four facets of an offer that we can make to you that are simply going to solve the problems you're facing with the tortoise bid. So why don't you talk to us?
We should add, by the way, when talking about your week, we didn't have an episode out last week, did we?
That's right.
And that's because of all the aforementioned, really.
That's it. That's why we're talking about
you
it.
You were freezing your nuts off in some shite courthouse somewhere. There's been a whole, I think it's called a hullabaloo, Dale. This is over something called Bovar.
Yeah. Something that some crazy scientists have cooked up to feed to cows to kind of reduce the amount by which they burp and fart, because those two things are where the methane from the creatures primarily come from, and those are the biggest drivers of the climate crisis from animal agriculture. It's just a natural thing, but they, anyway. And there's been a kickback. Can we call it a kickback? It's not a pun, is it, when it comes to cows?
Yeah. The
public are going, what the you putting this synthetic material into cows? I think it's based on silicon, I think. It's a silicon-based compound, as far as I understand it, and people are like rightly raising health concerns. The agri lobby say, "Don't worry, it's SafeGov, it's got food safety approval and stuff like that." But people aren't having it, and I took the opportunity to jump in and say, "Oh, actually, did you know? Not only is Bovar or whatever it's called an ingredient in milk today, so is pus." Actually, there's an allowable limit for pus from cows' udders because they get mastitis from the basically industrial nature of how they're milked so frequently and by the machines. Blood, pus, and poo actually come from the udders into the milk, and there's an allowable limit of it. That's your ingredients. Drink up.
There you go. Drink up, everybody.
It's famously the white stuff, isn't it? But it's got a little bit of yellow stuff, red stuff, and brown stuff in it. Just want to say that.
Yeah. Have you been standing in the brown stuff though, Dale? Because you've upset some heritage people.
Yes.
About, I mean, we've been doing this podcast for a long time. I didn't think that I'd ever read out the headline, "You've been upsetting people who go to Marks and Spencer's."
Yeah, well, so this is a Marks and Spencer building on Oxford Street that M&S have wanted to knock down for a while to build back bigger and better, with a quarter of the energy consumption, by the way, even though the size would almost double. I mean, that's quite impressive. So it's obviously an old building and hard to power, to insulate and that kind of stuff. But Michael Gove was blocking it for reasons of carbon footprint, which is incredible. He also has no sense of irony, not just my ex and her legal team, but Michael Gove. He approved a coal mine, right? And then he says, "Oh no, you can't knock that building down, M&S. You need to keep it and have a smaller carbon footprint." I was like, "Come on, you got to be joking." So it was in the week of the assisted dying bill passing through Parliament, and I said, "Look, actually, often." Not always, but often, heritage is just history on life support. We need to let it go. And I was making a reference to that assisted dying. We need assisted dying for buildings, is what I was saying, or heritage.
And that's because, so you you're all
Oh,
right with the building going
yes, we should
because the
say.
one it's going to replace it. So you're not. It's not an anti-Marks and Spencers thing.
No, no,
It's
no. I
about the
should have said
building.
we. Sorry, we haven't made clear, have we, that Angie Rayner actually approved the demolition and the building of the new one, something Michael Gove had been holding up. And I thought that was a good decision. So I just went on social media and said, look, it's a good thing to do, right? Sometimes heritage, we just have to let it go. It's not serving a purpose. And here's the thing. I've been talking about this in wind for decades. Wind is a great example because we treasure those old windmills. They're our heritage. And the new windmills, people, some people say, oh, they're ugly or whatever. I say it's future heritage. And what a lot of people don't know is that when windmills first came here from Holland, they were seen as monstrosities. And in Norfolk, for example, some of the Dutch engineers that were installing them were literally lynched. And back in Holland, some of the Dutch grandmaster painters, when they painted a landscape, they would ignore the windmills. They would paint them out, as in not paint them in to their pictures. And so, it was controversial back in the day. It becomes heritage. That's how it goes.
Fair point. Let's do some questions, Dale. Paula says, every year the Christmas jumper thing really annoys me, especially when schools in the UK make it compulsory to wear them. They are a nightmare for the environment, full of the worst plastic fibres, as well as the whole fast fashion thing. I also ban glitter from any of my classrooms and put signs up saying glitter is litter with images of harmful microplastics. Why has the Christmas jumper become a thing in the UK? Just a little rant. I have every single year. Love the show, says Paula. Let's just be honest, Dale. I genuinely feel strongly about this, I'm totally with Paula, maybe for those reasons, but also I just have a basic belief that if you wear a wacky Christmas jumper, you're a bit of a frankly.
Well, listen, I agree completely with Paula and with you on this. Well, no, I mean, people can wear what they want, right? But what I think is wrong is to force kids to wear jumpers. And it reminds me, I have to go back to this, but in closing arguments yesterday, the other side's barrister accused me of this, and this is hilarious. He accused me of trying to take meat from school children.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Like some kind of sort of Thatcher took the milk.
Yeah, like
Vince
a milk
took the
snatcher.
meat.
Like a milk
Vince
snatcher.
took the mince.
The meat burglar is what one of my legal team called it. But I mean, it was stunning. It was stunning. This is adding to the list of my crimes is that I want to take meat from school children. Obviously, of course, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to stop it being forced on them.
One from Alan and Janet, who says, Dale, we're loyal supporters, got solar panels 18 months ago. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting for Ecotricity to launch buyback of our customer surplus, but there's no progress. What's going on? Says Alan and Janet.
Fair question. And it has been months and months. We just launched our new version app, I think a couple of weeks ago. And, I think we're through most of the teething problems. And that's the gateway to this smart export tariff that we've been talking about for so long. It should be with us, I think, in a matter of a month or two more. I'm not really sure, but I keep asking the same question. When's it coming? We had to get the app launched, and it'll be done now. It'll be handled through the app, which is amazing. You can sign up through the app. You can leave us through the app. You can pay your bills. You can change the direct debit. You can change your payment message. You can do all those wonderful things, and you'll also be able to track your generation and your payments for your solar power. Hallelujah. It's not here yet, but it is coming.
It's on the way. This from Christine Dale. How do I go about working for one of your companies? I'm in tune with your approach and want to help fight climate change. How do I get involved? Do you advertise jobs anywhere?
Yeah, on our website.
ecotricity.co.uk/jobs.
Probably. I mean, that would... did you guess that, or are you telling me?
No, Will told us that.
Bless him.
In a rare moment, a very rare moment of
usefulness.
diligence.
Oh, I was going to say usefulness.
Well, kind of same thing. Will decided to put a link up there.
Nice one. Nice one.
Helen says, thanks for your interest in buying The Observer. If the management succeeds in pushing through this half-based stitch-up, I hope you will retain your interest and buy the title in a couple of years when Tortoise runs out of cash.
That's an interesting thought. And that's the big worry everybody has, including The Guardian, who are bunging in 5 million of their own money. They're giving away The Observer to Tortoise Media and bunging in 5 million as well as like a dowry to try to make sure they've got enough money to see the job through. It's a little bit bizarre. We are sending a letter out as I speak, actually. and I think it'll be in the media as well tomorrow. Just trying to kind of up the pressure. At the same time, Observer staff have written to the board today to say they've got this list of questions from a law firm. They just think the thing hasn't been done properly, and I have to say I do share that view.
Let's do X-rated corner. These are
thank
those
God.
people that have written in a vain attempt to try and give you a bit of a hard time, because they're not really what you'd call natural supporters of what you stand for. Vincent Mag says, Dale Vince denying he's a terrorist supporter reminds me of Liberace's lifelong denials that he was gay. Firstly, Liberace was gay. There's that.
Who knew?
Secondly, this, I guess, is reference to your ongoing battles and legal action where many people have already apologized to you. And Vincent might have to be the next one to apologize to you.
Yeah.
He might have literally libeled himself or something like that.
I think Liberace's people might be in touch. I have no idea.
Very true.
But look, this keeps coming up. It came up in court again. Everything came up in court on Monday. My whole life, past, present, and future, came up in court on Monday, and where I'm accused of suing the Daily Mail again as we speak in court. And the fact is, yes, I am, because I had to sue them for the first Hamas libel. They apologized, they paid costs, and they paid damages, which I paid to a Palestinian charity. And they promised not to do it again. Lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, they just do it again. So I have to sue them again. I mean, it's not my fault, right? I'm not actually a litigious person. I'm just somebody that won't accept being libeled or pushed about or something like that, which, newspapers, they don't stick to the truth, do they?
You think?
It's a thing, isn't it?
There's a guy here. He's called. I don't even know whether to read this out because it's been very insulting to you. He's called you a prick, Dale. But can I read more of what he said?
Yeah.
Says, Dale might be a prick, but he's British and a tax resident here, so he's our prick. Musk, on the other hand, he's not, so should not be able to donate to UK political parties. So there's a kind of, I don't know, it's sort of more than, it's another category of passive-aggressive, that is, an aggressive-passive.
Yeah, some kind of backhanded compliment, isn't it, or something like that. I don't know.
And we know about the journalist Charlotte Gill, who's often putting sort of stuff up about you. We've covered her. Somebody called Walton Banderas, replying to her, says, "Keep following the money, Charlotte. You'll find it leads to Dale Vince.
Yeah.
He's keeping the UK woke elite afloat. But who's funding him?"
I love it. It's brilliant. So we've just rolled into a conspiracy theory here from a bit of backhanded compliment on X-ray.
Yeah.
I love it. And through Newsnight, I think it was it?
I think it was.
I'm not really sure. But look, this is the Musk story. He's threatened to donate $100 million to reform FFS, and I've popped up and said that can't be right. Musk is a foreigner. He should keep his money out of our politics. In fact, I've been saying for a while we should keep all private money out of politics, because there's always a hoo-ha about who donates and why they do it and what the outcome might be and that kind of stuff. We've seen it. But the cost of publicly funding elections, for example, would only be £20 million a year. And that's a drop in the ocean compared to what governments handle and are responsible for. And if we just funded them ourselves, we could have politics free of all donations, all doubts, all allegations, and all that kind of stuff. And that 20 million a year is after the Tories doubled election spending limits. If we went back to the old limits, it'd be £10 million a year. I mean, really a pittance to clean up politics.
There it is.
But including that, we've got to keep Musk out of it, right?
Yeah, I think most people, even supporters of Musk, should acknowledge that that's a no-no territory. That's it, Dale. It's not just it for this episode. Is it for this year?
Ah, yeah. Okay. Well, who knew? I've been busy. I had my head down.
Yeah. Your handlers have insisted that you have some kind of break. Although I think we're back on January the 2nd for a kind of look back at the big 5 stories of 2024. And then the 9th of January, we're in usual form, firing on all 4 cylinders.
Oh, well, firing on all 4s.
Something like that. I like the sound of that.
Look, I'm glad. I just want to say I'm glad, right? I'm glad the year's come to an end. It's had its ups and its downs. But mine's ending on a kind of up after a big week of, grief. Yeah. But I'm happy about that. It's over now, and I'm actually able to get on the front foot and do all the things I really want to do. So happy days. And looks.
You need happy Christmas then, Dale.
I know. I know. I was about to say, great. Have a great holiday, everybody listening, and you,
happy
of course.
Holidays.
I ain't gonna say happy Christmas. But look, have a great time, and free yourself from the commercial beast that Xmas is and all the things you're supposed to do, the cards you're supposed to buy and send and all that bullshit. Don't have a turkey. Please don't have a turkey. 10 million of them born and bred. They're, bred from rape, actually, by the way. I don't know if anybody knows that. Turkeys don't procreate naturally. Starts with rape, murdered for Christmas dinner. Please don't do it.
Yeah. And don't climb down anybody's chimney without an invite.
Yeah, because you'll get arrested and the key will be thrown away
probably,
because as some kind of protester. By the way, hot off the news, I don't know what would you call it, hot off the ticker tape. Paul Watson, a founder and leader of they used to be called Sea Shepherd, some Neptune's Pirates, for whom we bought a boat. He's been banged up anyway in Denmark, facing extradition to Japan. I think we talked about it on this show. He's been released today.
Nice.
The Danes have said, "F you, Japan. You can't have him. We're letting him go."
Good work.
And not in them exact words, but in essence.
Yeah, I wish they had used those words. Dale will speak next year.
Yeah, fabulous. See
and
you
of
then.
course, in the meantime, you can follow Dale on social media, twitter.com/DaleVince, facebook.com/DaleVince. And would you believe it? I've just found out.
No, really.
On TikTok too.
Blimey.